I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica L. Sanchez, published in 2017. I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter takes place in modern-day Chicago, exploring many issues facing the city of Chicago itself and also those experienced by immigrant families as well. Julia Reyes, the main character in this book, lives with her parents and older sister Olga in a Chicago neighborhood that is known for both poverty and violence. Julia's parents are both undocumented immigrants who work long and hard to provide for their family. Olga, Julia's sister, is known to be the perfect Mexican daughter that Julia's mother adores and cherishes. Being the rebellious teen Julia is, she often lashes out at her overprotective parents who seem to be, in Julia's eyes, not supportive of her dreams. During many instances in the book, Julia is both frustrated and annoyed at her mother, who wants to know what Julia is doing at every second. When Olga is hit and killed by a truck, Julia discovers very personal items in Olga's closet that hints at Olga's secret and mysterious life. Julia is determined to uncover whether or not her dead older sister was keeping secrets from her family. As Julia begins to discover Olga's secrets one by one, her life takes a daunting turn. After meeting her first boyfriend, her parents send her away to Mexico, hoping her behavior will change for the better as she battles with anxiety and severe depression. Slowly, Julia figures out who her sister truly was as she repairs her relationship with her mother and prepares for her future. The novel I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter walks us through the life of Julia as she copes with the sudden death of her sister and struggles with an identity that completely rejects the said notion of a perfect Mexican daughter. Though this story might only appeal to a specific audience, its message about living in America while being undocumented, coping with mental illness, sexual harassment, and death sends a strong message to any reader in today's day and age. Like I briefly mentioned before, I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter highlights the issues experienced by immigrant families. Erica Sanchez not only discusses the unfair living conditions undocumented immigrants in the U.S. are forced to experience, such as poverty, labor exploitation, and living in fear of deportation, but she also narrates the journey of Julia's parents crossing over, which is not taken very lightly. In addition to highlighting the conditions of undocumented immigrants living in the U.S., Sanchez goes as far to put a light on mental health issues, death, being a girl, and even the power of lies. Mental health in specific is one of the major themes of the novel, being centered around Julia's depression, anxiety, and eventual recovery. After Olga's death, Sanchez goes into great detail to explain how Julia went through periods of insomnia and nightmares, exclaiming, "She stayed wide awake for what felt like hours." Whether it's worrying about her future, being uncomfortable in groups of people, or keeping secrets from her parents, her mind usually wandered and got lost in a tangle of worries. Another strong message Sanchez wanted the audience to take away was the power of secrets and lies. As the novel starts to unfold, Julia gets pretty deep into the secrets her dead sister kept from everyone. As Julia comes face to face with these lies, she states, "How can I ever give this to my parents? Something else to love, something dead." Basically, what Sanchez suggests is that some secrets are too painful to share and that some are supposed to protect people from the hurt. And finally, Sanchez goes as far to add impactful LGBTQ+ representation through the character of Juan, discussing his issues with coming out and not being accepted by his Latinx family. Overall, the author's objective is to educate the audience on common issues women, minorities, and briefly the LGBTQ+ community face. Although a story like this one may only appeal to a specific audience like feminists, women, minorities, teens, etc., it's really a book for everyone. Like any good book that discusses issues with immigration, mental health, and death, its impact will of course hit each audience differently. While many women will find themselves relating to this text, this can absolutely be an informative read for men. In today's day and age, there is a growing awareness of talking about mental health wealth and immigration, accepting others, and following your dreams no matter your gender or family expectations. So, this text attempts to further the audience. As far as the writing style goes, Julia narrates the novel in the first person. Although Julia does keep journals, the novel is not written in the style of a journal. Erica allows the reader to follow along with Julia's life through the eyes of, well, Julia. Erica Sanchez bases Julia's character on being both very opinionated and outspoken, all traits that get Julia into trouble quite a bit. In addition to the conflicting characterizations of Julia, as we discussed before, Sanchez does not shy away from writing about difficult situations. For myself, reading I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter was one of the first times I've ever really felt seen in literature as a Latinx woman and teenager. The way that Sanchez was able to capture and celebrate Mexican culture was one of the main factors that really stood out to me. Being Hispanic, there are a lot of traditions and expectations that I must follow in order to be seen as an acceptable and or successful woman. Julia's life and overall upbringing is so similar to the one that I grew up in, full of beauty yet despair. In my experience, a book that is similar to I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter is La Casa in Mango Street, as it is set in a Latinx neighborhood in Chicago and portrays what it's like to be an immigrant in America, as well as living in poverty and a male-dominated culture. Considering that I started and finished this book on a road trip, important to note here that I get extremely car sick, I would give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter described the singularity of Mexican culture, such as the traditions, the joys, and even the little bit of humor, while still highlighting issues that are very common for the Latinx community in America. This novel is especially rich in depicting the nature of toxic masculinity when Julia explains how she feels trapped under the expectations of her home life, straight harassment, and even sexual violence that is described in the novel. Although I loved Julia's character, she is definitely not for everyone. Julia is a snarky brown girl just as I was when I was younger, so whether you pick up the book or not, it's a great read that will leave you with a very strong message.